Hi, today I'm going to show you one way that you can upcycle your jeans by adding a cool side panel. You can do this a couple of different ways. You can do it just for decoration, or maybe to take that pair of jeans that's just a little bit too small for you and make them fit again. There's two different ways to do it. Today, I chose to sew it with the seams on the outside and leave them raw so they'd fray. I see a lot of people doing that. I've never done it that way before, so I thought I'd give it a try. But if you don't like that look, absolutely you can just sew them with the seams on the inside and finish them as usual.
Okay, so first I'm just measuring across the waist of the jeans that I'm going to alter. I'm also going to take a hip measurement and just compare those to another pair of jeans I know that already fits me well. So to determine the width of the side panel you need, you'll want to lay the jeans flat that you're going to alter and measure across the waist. Let's say they're 14 inches. Then measure another pair that fits you well. Let's say that one's 16 inches. That means you need to add 2 inches. You can also compare the hip measurement, but on mine I found the waist had the bigger difference, so I'm going to go with that. Then I added 2 inches for seam allowance. This is because I'm going to lose a ½ inch on either side of the jean leg as well as the side panel, so 2 inches total. Then lastly, I added 1 extra inch just for some wiggle room. I figure if they're too big, I can always take them in a bit, but if it's too small, I'll have to start over. That makes my side panel 5 inches wide in total. Now, remember we measured the jeans flat, and there's of course 2 sides to them, but there's also 2 side panels. So this means each side panel will need to be 5 inches. Next, I'm just checking to make sure that the donor jeans are long enough. Now they're not quite as long as the pair that I'm going to alter, but since both jeans are too long for me anyway, won't make any difference. I'm going to cut them off. Next step is to cut open the leg of the jeans. Cut as close to the seam as you can on the outside of each leg. When you get to the top, you're going to want to cut straight through that waistband. Now just repeat that on the outside of the other leg. Now the donor jeans that you're using for the striped panel, turn those inside out so you can make some markings on them and lay them flat and just try to get it really crisp along the edge of that seam as much as possible. Now I'm just going to measure in 2½ inches because remember this is doubled since both sides of the jeans will be cut and I want the panel 5 inches. So I'm making a mark at 2½ inches. And I'm just going to kind of move up periodically and do that so I know where to cut. Now I'm just going to connect those points so I've got a line to cut on. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut along that line to get my first side panel. These particular jeans were kind of like cargo pants, so at a couple of places they did have some thick pockets and other bits on the other side. Just check yours first if you have anything like that and make sure it's going to cut where you want it to. I was fine with leaving those pockets on mine. I just know that they're going to be a bit narrower on the final result. So this little flap here is just from the front pocket on mine. I'm not going to worry about that at all. I'll just cut that off. I'll make sure I leave enough that it doesn't leave any open space, that it's fully covered with the fabric, but then I'll just trim it off. These are the cargo pockets here. But yeah, I'm just going to trim that. Just trying to figure out about where I want to cut it. And I won't worry about hemming that or anything. I'm going to leave it fray and be raw. Now just repeat the process on the other leg. So you've got your 2 side panels. Okay, so on this one again, I've got a little extra flap from the front pocket on the donor jeans. Again, I'm just going to cut that off and not worry about it. Okay, so there's my second panel. Now this one had one of those little hammer holders, I guess you call it, again because they're cargo pants, so I'm just going to have to reattach that at some point. I'm not going to worry about it until I have the strip sewn in though. So here we have it, my 2 side panels that I'll be inserting in the new jeans. I did end up laying one on top of the other just to make sure they were about the same size, and on one of them it was just a tiny bit wider, so I just went ahead and trimmed that bit off. Okay, so I'm just getting an idea of how they're going to look, and here I'm kind of trying to decide if I want to add any embellishments on the front of it. If you do want to add any appliques or patches or any other decorative items to your jeans while the leg is open is the easiest time to do it. So now's when you want to decide. And I had these left over from a different pair of bell bottoms that I put together once, and I had pulled some flowers off another pair of jeans and attached them, and I just had a couple of those left over, so I thought it's kind of the same pinks. I think they'd kind of go nice here. So that's just me deciding where to put them. So I'm just going to pin those in place and then take them to my machine and sew them on before I attach the side panels. Because of the rough shape of these, like if it was a nice square or a round shape, it might be easier to go around. Because of the intricate cutting around the flower and the leaves, it's going to take a little bit more effort to maneuver around them. But I'm just going to do the best I can. It really doesn't matter if you get perfectly right on the edge. Just remember that anything that isn't quite captured in the edge of your stitching will fray. But I think that's going to add to the look anyway, so I'm really not concerned about that. Now, as you can see, I did have to occasionally bunch up the jeans to fit them underneath the arm of the sewing machine so I can maneuver around the edge. Just do the best you can. I'm using a zigzag stitch here. Not the widest one, I think my medium size zigzag. Okay, so just before I pinned them together, I realized I'd left this big thick seam in the jeans. I just want to cut that off. It's going to be really tough to sew through that. Okay, so now I'm going to pin my side panels to the jeans. And remember, I'm having the seam on the outside, so the edges are frayed and raw. But if you want yours, the seams on the inside, remember to put yours right sides together. So mine are wrong sides together, and I'm using safety pins just because once I get them pinned, I'm going to want to try them on and see how they fit before I commit to that. Didn't want to get stuck in the side with a bunch of stick pins. So I've just pinned both sides of that particular strip and then come around to do the other leg. And I'm just finishing up the second side of that strip as well. So there you go. You can see both strips are pinned on both sides. So now I just need to try them on and make sure I'm happy with it. Okay, so ready to sew. I tell you, it just feels weird sewing on the outside of the seam like this, but I'm hoping it'll give it a really cool frayed look. Now, if you have some parts that are a bit too thick to sew through, you can trim them out first or even take a hammer to them to flatten them. That really does work. Also be really careful you're not sewing over any rivets or anything like that. That's going to break your needle. Check first, and you'll want to carefully go around them if that's the case. I do have one spot where I'll have to do that. And as you can see, this spot's really thick, so you might need to use your hand wheel to get through that, and that's just fine. Take it slow. By the way, I have switched to the wider zigzag stitch for this. That's a 4 on my machine. Okay, nearly to the end of this side of this panel. Just going to repeat the process on the other side and then again on the other leg. I won't bore you with it all. It's the same as what you've seen here. All right, got them all sewn on, and now we're just going to have to cut the jeans to the length I need. As I said, both pairs of jeans were too long for me, so I went and measured my favorite jeans just to see, and they all tend to be about at the 29.5 to 30 inch mark on the inseam. I'm going to go to 30 on these just because I'd rather have them just that little bit too long, especially when they're going to start fraying, because I'm not going to hem the bottom. I'm just going to leave them raw. Since the sides are raw, the bottoms may as well be as well. So I'm just going to make a mark now, going across just to make sure I get them cut evenly. Now just move the other leg out of the way, and I'm going to use this ruler to trace a line between those dots that I drew, and that's the line I'm going to cut on. Of course, you're going to have to measure and mark the other leg and cut it the same way. Also, since you'll be cutting off the bottom of your seam on the sides that you sewed on, you might want to pop it back in your machine and reinforce that with a couple of back stitches. Now, this is them after a fresh wash and dry. And you can see there's quite a bit of fraying on the bottom, which I really like. I will have to trim up some of these longer bits, but I think that looks pretty cool. So I'm just going to trim off any long stringy bits. The edge of this flowers that I appliqued on did fray a little bit, and it looks really good. I'm really happy with that. So now I'm just going to go around and trim any excessively long bits. These jeans did have elastane in them, so they don't fray as much, I think, as 100% cotton jeans would. You could always rough them up with a brush or something if you wanted to, if you wanted more fraying, but I think over time they will a bit more anyway. Yeah, but just clean them up to your liking.
So there you go. What do you think? I like them. They're really comfortable. I think they're pretty cool. I still get some more fraying, even though I've cut it. I still find a little more. I think that'll probably happen for a little while. You might find over the next couple of washes you do have to trim them. But as I said at the start, if you don't like this look, put up the seam on the inside and then finish it either with a zigzag stitch or your serger if you've got one. Any way you like to do it is fine. I'm really happy with them. I like them. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video.